effort then of the rally rider out of the saddle. Scully once again beginning to fan the flames. He's pouring on the coals. Oh, look at this retract. And the field absolutely drilling it round this circuit. Oh, it was so close.
Hello and welcome to Aberystwyth, widely regarded as the cultural capital of Wales. But it's cycling that takes centre stage today as the Pearl Izumi Tour Series rolls into town. But before we concentrate on events in Cardigan Bay, let's remind ourselves of what happened in round 2 in Redditch. Round 2 saw newcomers One Pro Cycling enter the fray as championship leaders after a great start to their season. As the race got underway, it quickly became clear that Redditch's Union Hill was to play a key part in proceedings, with multiple ascents up this long drag, making it tough going for the field. Team Rally's Morgan Kniesky made short work of it though, and powered on to take all 3 intermediate sprints, as well as the Costa Express fastest lap on the night. Seemingly, Kniesky was showing good form, but there would be more to come on that later in the race. The field duly split up, leaving just Pedal Heaven and Madison Genesis with a full complement of riders to contest the team win, with Madison Genesis's Mike Northey among a quintet that separated themselves from the leading pack on the final lap. And so back to Morgan Kniesky's night. It seemed to be going swimmingly, and the individual win was just around the corner. Or was it?
He's celebrating the Frenchman. What's he doing? Oh, it's far too early.
It was a classic case of cunning and stealth, with One Pro Cycling's John Mould creeping up and then passing a rather surprised Kniesky. Oh dear.
I am very disappointed for me and for my team.
Kniesky's second place also meant that Tom Stewart retained the lead of the Chain Reaction Cycles points jersey on Countback. Madison Genesis in the end just held off the Pedal Heaven advance to take the win on the night by a matter of seconds. And with their first ever Pearl Izumi Tour Series runners-up spot, Pedal Heaven have gotten their campaign off to a flying start. With the overall team winner on the night being decided by adding up all 5 team members' times, it's changed the whole dynamic of this racing. It's quite literally a case of every second counts. Madison Genesis took the overall team prize in Redditch with a total time of 5 hours, 57 minutes and 57 seconds. But Pedal Heaven were hot on the heels of the championship leaders, finishing only 14 seconds behind them. With all riders counting for the team time, mechanicals, slow laps and slowing up for celebrations can have a huge impact on where you finish on the night.
He's celebrating the Frenchman. What's he doing? Oh, it's far too early.
So Tim, because of the new format, the new rules, there are very small margins between the first 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, I mean, it does come down to a matter of seconds. You have to be careful that one guy doesn't take 3 or 4 seconds off of another guy by being away in a break, so you have to be careful who's away with who. I try to get my guys to beat the man around them, because if they can put 1 second into each guy around them, that adds up to a 5 second, 10 second. We lost by, I think it was 14 seconds at Redditch. Maybe we could get that back another way, but also it's nice to actually be in there fighting with the UCI teams. It kind of makes a lot of 5 mini races through the race.
You're racing, there's so much else to think about in a bike race, but to keep remembering that you've got to get over the line and keep an eye on the clock. How do you manage to keep that at the front of your mind?
Obviously Tim reminds us constantly. We basically come with the rule that unless your arms and legs are hanging off, you've got to finish. So, and Tim's always reminding us. He's so enthusiastic. It's great. We all know we have to work so much harder together to not so much compensate for the fact we're a smaller team, but we've got to operate the same way as the big teams operate, because that's where we want to be. So we're working hard at it.
How do you manage to communicate then and make sure that you all know where everybody is?
It's quite difficult because the racing's full on, racing around these tight circuits. So it's important just look over your shoulder and see where people are and just be aware.
Yeah, we saw what happened in Redditch. Is that something that you have to drill into your riders, not to take their eye off the ball?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just for first. Every one of the guys back to 5th has to ride for the best time they can get. If they're going around solo because they've been dropped out the back of the bunch, then they need to ride like it's a time trial to get back to the line as quick as possible. because every second counts for every rider, so it's not just about the first 3 getting there first.
It makes for exciting racing, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, we were all in the pits, and Roger and I were talking literally last lap. Neither of us knew how it was going to go. I was obviously just happy to be in the fight, and they took it, but you know, another day we might. So yeah, we keep working hard.
The race here in Aberystwyth is the only time the Tour Series visits Wales, and one rider the whole crowd will be rooting for is local hero Griff Lewis, who rides for Pedal Heaven, former Welsh Criterium champion, and he's with me now. Welcome back to Aberystwyth. You must enjoy riding here in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, it's one that I always put down in the calendar that I'd like to do well, simply because I've got all the family, all my friends, and obviously it's a big race. You know, we're so lucky to have it once again, thanks to the Aber Cycle Fest, and hopefully I can do well.
Just looking at over the day then, of course we've got the hill climb. Is that somewhere that you've ridden often up Cliff Terrace?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it knowingly that the hill climb's going up there, but it's not a climb that I'd put into a ride. Obviously that it goes up to a dead end, but I got a few mates that work up in Constitution Hill, and sometimes we drive up there, so I know the gradient. At the end of the day, it's a 3 or 4 minute effort, and us boys know how to ride flat out for 3 minutes.
What about your form yourself? Good position last week in Redditch. What are your hopes for this one?
Yeah, I'm lucky. I've had my best result in a Tour Series event just on Tuesday, so I mean, I got no excuses. My confidence should be high, and with everyone cheering me on, I don't think the legs will have much of a say. I'll have to do the job.
And I think Pedal Heaven themselves, there seems to be a good spirit amongst this squad of riders.
Yeah, it's a team that I think a lot of people are talking about, and I think that every team will be looking at us as a threat, you know, and it's only a good thing. We want to step up our status next year, so we've been told by the manager, why not ride like a UCI team now and prepare ourselves ready for what's to come, and we are doing that.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Griff, and good luck for the rest of today. So, as Griff gets ready for the hill climb, let's take a closer look at the attractions of Aberystwyth and, of course, tonight's circuit map. The clockwise 1.2 kilometre Aberystwyth circuit will see the riders navigate through the relative protection of the town before dropping down to the exposed right-hander onto the promenade. This will feature as a real pinch point as the riders negotiate a tight turn into a cross headwind. And if the wind is high, expect to see some suffering along the drag up to the final corner. The picturesque seaside town of Aberystwyth has become a regular on the Tour Series calendar. It provides an abundant year-round vibrancy. Flanked by Cardigan Bay and nestling between 3 hills, the town's spectacular surroundings are an outdoor enthusiast's dream. The rugged slopes of nearby Constitution Hill means that spectacular views are never far away. It is now the centre of local rural life and is visited by many to sample the numerous cafes, bars and restaurants. Cycling is also an essential part of the Aberystwyth experience. Challenging mountain bike terrain and a successful track record in staging marquee cycling events add to the town's cycling credentials. No visit to Aberystwyth would be complete without a trip up Constitution Hill, which is the setting for the timed hill climb, a first for this year's Tour Series. The riders will face a 1.4 kilometre climb with a sharp 25% ramp at the start. There is, of course, an easier way to get up there.
Richard Handley, who started second, set a blistering pace of 3:58.332. He remained in the lead for 10 minutes before Jonathan McAvoy went 3:54.436, almost 4 seconds quicker. And they're the only 2 riders at this stage inside 4 minutes.
Stephen Williams of Pedal Heaven coming up to finish with a very respectable time, 3:55. Anything under 4 minutes in this course is very respectable.
And that time of Stephen Williams is good enough for second at this stage. We're looking now at James Lowesley Williams.
You can just see the 18% ramp right at the start of this hill climb, 1.4 kilometres of sheer hill.
Next man to start will be Griff Lewis, a local man, so he's going to get good support. And the next rider we're going to see is Kenway.
And Kenway has caught Graham Briggs, who started 30 seconds in front of him.
And he's just spinning a low gear. Now, and look at this of John Mould. He really is burying himself. This is a pretty impressive time. His split slower down the hill are indicating, yes, he has gone into 3rd place at the moment.
So third last rider to go is Karol Domagowski of Team Rally GAC as he gets underway in this very difficult hill climb.
This is Tobin Horton of Madison Genesis, and I tell you what, he's going to get company in a minute. Chris Lawless of Team Wiggins is going to pick him up for 30 seconds.
You can also see in the background the Starley Primal rider, Moreno.
And next to start here, the penultimate rider, George Harper, the 22-year-old on One Pro Cycling.
Kenway just making his effort halfway up this climb, looking good at this moment.
Well, Lawless has now swept past Tobin Horton, and he's got the bit between his teeth, and he drives on for the line. Lawless then stops the clock at 3:59.209 for fourth position.
So Tom Stewart underway. He is the last rider in this hill climb.
Well, can Stewart carry on the good form that he's been showing in the city centre discipline? Spinning a good gear in the early stages.
Very early stages for the Madison Genesis rider. We go back to Moreno, who we saw in the background earlier on. He looks to be setting a very good time here.
So Moreno of Spain coming up to the line. Fifth position then for Moreno.
Hard effort there for Lawless. You can just see really difficult in this hill climb to get everything out.
Well, the rest of the field making their way up the climb. This is Griff Lewis. He's getting towards the closing stages as well.
Pedal Heaven have been riding well in the Tour Series so far, so expecting big things from them tonight.
Look at the face on George Harper, really gritting his teeth as we saw him go through shot.
Kenway here just coming across the gravel part, left-hander, and then he'll see the finishing line just in front.
So Kenway driving on now towards the line as we come back to the rider from Rally, the pole. This is Domagowski.
Domagowski riding strong up this climb, and Rally GAC really need a good performance here in Aberystwyth.
Now what's he going to finish up with here, Kenway, as he's coming nearer and nearer to the line. He finishes in fourth position. Still a few more to come though.
Excellent performance there, but just look at this man here, Harper, out the saddle, getting plenty of encouragement, wants to do a great ride.
Well, Briggs looks as though he's going to get some company as another rider's closing down on him.
Every second counts in this hill climb. It's all about the 5 riders' accumulative score, and it does look as if JLT Condor are struggling a wee bit here with Briggs.
Well, Briggs, I reckon, saving his strength for the race a little bit later on today as he comes up to the line. Here comes Briggs to finish now. That time he's certainly not going to win any medals.
So Lusley Williams goes over the line there with 4:07, so just outside 4 minutes.
This is Tom Stewart. Chosen a nice low gear there as we get sight once again of Domagowski, and right behind Domagowski's George Harper. Harper's doing an absolute stormer.
Griff Lewis coming up for Pedal Heaven, riding very well.
Yeah, that's a good time as well for Lewis, 4:07.082. Well, we really are at the sharp end of this contest, but look at the effort here now for George Harper. The splits have indicated lower down the mountain that Harper could put McAvoy's time under severe pressure.
Domagowski coming up to the finishing line to finish his effort.
Domagowski crosses the line, 4:00.825, just failing to get inside the 4-minute barrier. Now then, what's Harper going to stop the clock at? The leading time at the moment, 3:54.436 by McAvoy. This could crumble. Here comes Harper with the final effort, really kicking onto the line. What's he going to stop the clock at? It's getting nearer and nearer the line. Let's have a look at it. Oh, the new leader, 3:52.744 for George Harper.
And the last man to finish here, the only man that can topple George Harper, is Tom Stewart from Madison Genesis.
The question you've got to ask yourself is, has he got the firepower in his legs? He's been in imperious form in the town centre. Now then, what can he do here? Coming up to the bend, remember the leading time, 3:52.744 by Harper. Second place, McAvoy, 3:54.436. Here comes Stewart now, burying himself over the line. Oh, 3:55.162. Third spot for Stewart. So George Harper succeeded in making that 4-minute ordeal slightly shorter than his rivals did. Also keen to enjoy the views over the bay was Jonathan McAvoy. And it seems no Tour Series 1-2-3 would be complete without Tom Stewart of Madison Genesis. So there he is. All of which means One Pro Cycling retake the overall series lead by a single point from Madison Genesis, with Pedal Heaven again riding strongly. Join us in a few minutes for the main event, the Criterium.